You're listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. My name is Philippe Costa. This is the Tuesday edition of the Morning Buzz, and I'm joined here, as always, by the one, the only
Tara.
Hi,
So anticlimactic.
Tara. I just want to say this morning, right in front of the School of Communication Media Arts, I saw an actual Red Hawk.
Really?
So I feel like that's a good omen for just today in general, and I hope
maybe it was coming to pick up Susan.
It's like Susan, your luggage.
Just be like your tie. Maybe it's like a Phoenix type situation.
A
Maybe
courier?
it's gonna like pick her up and then
It's gonna
like
pick her
catch
up
fire, and then she's gonna be reincarnated from the ashes as
as the next president.
Yeah.
So the president, so you're postulating that the president of not WMSC, but MSU is the same person, just reborn, sort of like an Avatar situation.
Very much so. And if she misses the Red Hawk, then her connection to the president's cycle is broken, and she can't reincarnate
We won't have a new
properly.
president. We won't have a new president.
Yeah, so she better catch that.
She better. That's a good way to start the morning buzz.
Morning.
But
hey everybody, how you doing?
We're also here, of course, with our news contributor Caitlin. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you? I missed you all last week.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because we're gonna be. I don't think the chemistry is any different between you and Jocelyn, but it's going to be interesting just jumping back and forth because this is not something I've ever done. I've always worked with the same news contributor from the get-go. So, but I think getting more and more people involved can only be good for the morning buzz. Let's be quite honest. The more people that we have involved, the better. And speaking of a lot of people being involved, what do we have coming up this Friday, Tara?
This Friday,
we have
aware, but it's College Radio Day, World College Radio Day. I gotta stress the world part enough because there's over 600 universities around planet Earth that are getting involved in this. It's our Olympics. It's our
World Cup.
It is, and it's also the day where we kind of get to show off to the world, and the world who doesn't usually listen to us, that we're, how important college radio is, not just for what we do here, but for how we set people up to have careers and have lives, and also for the media industry, we're the farm team basically. This is where people cut their teeth and get their chops right, and then are ready to go into the professional world. So it's going to be awesome. We're going 24 hours. I'm doing the pre-show the night before. I'm going to be talking to Brimstone. He's a wrestler and a media personality. He's super cool. Then that morning we have a super buzz.
Now, Tara, what
super
is
duper buzz?
The super duper buzz.
Super duper buzz, which is going to have all the buzz hosts, and it's going to go double length because sometimes longer is better. Not always, but sometimes.
But on that amazing note,
it's just going to be awesome. It's going to be a great day.
So tune in on Friday morning, same time. But we're
going all day. And we got Brett Michaels as our ambassador this year.
Yes.
Who's super, super cool.
Let's thank him because he matched the money we raised for
$10,000. He matched the $10K that we raised because one of the big things College Radio Day does is raise money because especially now during the pandemic, stations are on the chopping block all the time. And this was the case before the pandemic, but now any excuse the schools have to save money, a lot of them are cutting their radio programs. And like we said, this is where people get their training and get ready to, have careers and have jobs, not just in radio, but all over media. So it's not a small deal that we're losing a lot of stations. I mean, there was one I was listening to, because I've been in the meetings for College Radio Day to prepare. And there's one losing their license because the college figured out they could sell the land that the tower's on and make more money. Right. So what the World College Radio Day does is we raise money. We spend a lot of the year raising money and talking to sponsors and gathering donations and selling T-shirts. T-shirts are pretty cool this year. I like it. Good job. And we got up to $10,000. And then when Brett Michaels hooked up with us, he was like, how much you guys got? And we told him, and he's like, okay, I'll match that. And we're like, what?
Pardonnez-moi?
Huh?
But yeah,
He literally doubled our donation money to keep college radio stations around the entire world running. So we cannot thank him enough. He's also been doing his Ask Brett thing with us, and there's some more stuff coming.
yeah, Brett
I
is
don't want to give it away.
he's a cool dude, and just hearing some of the experience he gives people and some of the advice he has, and just to be able to post your questions to someone who's been around the block in terms of the media industry, and he's been through a lot, just to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
what he has to say. It's awesome. Also, he was the banana on the Masked
On the Masked
Singer.
Singer. He
which was
absolutely was the
awesome.
banana. He was the banana on the Masked Singer. He's obviously he's the singer from Poison. Solo career. Rock of Love, one of the most famous reality TV shows. The Guitar Hero 3 singer, who I spent my entire childhood watching. He did the
Yeah.
mocap. He did the mocap.
He
He's the Guitar
did.
Hero 3 singer. He did the motion capture. That's why it moves like he does. And he's just like a great dude. He has almost died several times and is super candid and super honest in talking about it. I mean, we got to talk for College Radio Day, and he's just such a down-to-earth human being. I never expected someone on that level of success
Mhm.
to be so down and like listening and engaged and happy. And then man just comes out of nowhere.
Here's
We
10K.
we didn't
No.
we like none of the other college radio, like no shade. All the other people that we've had as our College Radio Day ambassadors have been wonderful. We've had Joan Jett, we've had the Black Keys, we've had St. Vincent. It's a lot of legendary people have held this position.
This isn't to discredit them. This is to
No.
credit Brett, because he
Yeah,
went
because we
above
don't
and
ask.
beyond.
We're not like, hey, can you give us your time and
There's no
money?
entry fee. There's no entry fee because
Right. We're just like, hey, you're an important person. Would you like to come and spread the word about what we do and talk to us a little bit? So he comes out of nowhere and is like, yeah, I'll double the money you guys raised. And we're like, jaw on the floor. Like, this is going to literally keep college radio stations open.
Mhm.
And people like us, where it's not, we're not in as comfortable a position, they're going to be able to do what they do. And the next generation of people that work in media is going to get trained up and be able to pursue a career in what they love because they got the training in college. So we're super duper grateful for him. And Friday is going to be awesome. It's going to kick butt in every single direction. Pre-shows the night before. I'm going to be there. Then the Super Buzz kicking it off in the morning. We're starting at midnight. We're going the whole 24 hours.
Yeah, 24 hours from midnight to midnight.
Don't
We're
forget
gonna
it.
have content, but I think we've gushed a lot about College Radio Day and Brett.
Yeah, but it's worth it because
It
it's
is
in a
worth
couple-
it.
It's Friday. Like, we can't not.
Yeah,
know?
and we want
This
to
is a
make
big
sure
deal.
we want to make sure people are as aware of everything going on, because we want people to tune in and listen in. But
Yeah, man.
let's jump into the Tuesday buzz and our wonderful news contributor Caitlin. What
Who's
do you got
on
for
that?
us? Who do you got for us? What do you got for us in news?
Okay, good morning. So in breaking news, the coronavirus death toll has passed 1 million worldwide. Unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime, this virus has infiltrated every part of the globe. According to the New York Times, quote, over the past 10 months, the virus has taken more lives than HIV, malaria, influenza, and cholera, end quote. For local news, according to NJ.com, the federal government is sending New Jersey 2.6 million coronavirus tests that will be able to provide results in 15 minutes. Murphy said, quote, this could be a game changer. The plan is to first send the tests to schools and underserved communities, end quote. In national news, the New York Times has released a report on Trump's finances. They found that he has only paid 5 years of taxes in the past 15 years, and in 2 of those years, he has only paid $750 in taxes. New Jersey U.S. Representative Bonnie Watson Coleman said on Twitter, quote, underpaying his taxes while schools and highways crumble and millions go without COVID relief is morally reprehensible, end quote. And for international news, the city of Berlin is running a department store selling all recycled goods. The article on Good News Network says, quote, this isn't your grandma's thrift shop. It resells perfectly good items from retail outlets that would otherwise be thrown away, end quote. And for weather, in Montclair, New Jersey, it is currently 66 degrees with a high of 75 degrees and a low of 61 degrees. There is a 70% chance of rain today, and we will have 91% humidity with a sunset at 6:41 p.m. This concludes your news update for September 29th, 2020.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. Right now, I am in Montclair, so I'm just going to give you the weather where I live in Newark. It's currently 70 degrees with a high of 77, low of 63, with also a chance of rain starting at 11 a.m. What about you over there in
Happy Valley,
Happy
Cedar
Valley?
Grove. It's 67, going up to 77, going down to 61. There's a tiny chance of, oh no, there's a big chance of rain. There's a tiny chance of rain for right now, but over the course of the day, it's probably going to rain and lightning, which is cool.
So
Can I cut you in on a little secret? I hate overcast days that don't rain.
Yes. It's
Yeah,
just
I
depressing.
need precipitation. If you're gonna black out the sun and be all gloomy, I want at least like some. I want you to pay some dividends. You know.
Either that or I want to hear the entirety of Black Hole Sun from you.
Yeah.
Haha. But yeah, it's look, seasonal depression is a thing, so it really also
Oh, it
doesn't
really
help with that
doesn't.
at the end
Although
of the day.
seasonal depression is very weird. It
It
makes
is.
up its own rules and then breaks them.
Yeah, it's like that kid you play with in elementary school that whenever the game isn't going their way, they
Yeah.
make up new rules or they just go out straight out and say, "Well, it's my ball, so I'm not playing anymore." It's like,
Thanks for
cool.
that.
I hope you
Yeah.
take a hike. But in some positive news and something important that we should talk about since we have the election coming up, NJ.com put out an article talking about. I'll just read you the headline. Voting by mail. Here are the top 5 reasons NJ mail-in ballots were rejected during the primary. So a lot of ballots have been already mailed out by counties. I got my ballot
Same
just
here.
the other day. My
Same
mom
here.
got her ballot. She already filled her out. We're gonna probably drop it off at either the county box or I might even drop it off the box here in Cedar Grove because it's still
Yeah.
Essex County. I don't see why they wouldn't accept it, and it's a lot more convenient for me because I drive out here anyway to get to Montclair. But so during the primaries, there were ballots that were rejected due to some logistical reasons. According to analysis of the state data by NJ Spotlight, nearly 35,000 ballots, or 2.7% of the 1.28 million mail-in ballots cast, were rejected for one of 18 reasons. Here's a look at the top 5. So the first reason they listed is a late ballot.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, just because it arrived late. And they're listing, given to the concerns about the ability of postal service to deliver ballots on time for general election, you can instead use secure drop boxes in your county. For those who don't know, it's literally a drop box that's placed there by the county. If you go on the New Jersey's election website, they will tell you what in each county where there are drop boxes across the state. I think just in Essex County alone, where you and I live, there's at least close to 20 different drop boxes across different cities throughout Essex County. And if you live close to Newark, Prudential Center, barring the Essex County Election Board for whatever reason denying it, will become a super super polling area. So you'll be able to vote there in person while also dropping off your ballot at the ballot box. But for other people who don't live here, this article from New Jersey NJ State, if you can find NJ.com, if you can find it, it does have a link listing all the ballot box locations.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, if you're able to drive out of your house, if you're able to just drop it off, like literally, you don't have to interact with anyone to drop it off at a ballot box. Wow, I can't wear today.
No, but you're right though. Like it's
like
not
a mailbox.
small deal.
You pull up to the box, you drop your ballot in there, and there you go.
Right.
Just make sure
you get it in on time.
If you're dropping off for someone, just make sure that you sign on the outside because there is a specific regulation to follow if you're dropping off for someone because you can drop off a ballot for someone.
Speaking of which, reason number 2, other than late ballots, is missing certificates. It's from NJ.com. Your mail-in ballot comes in 3 important pieces: the ballot, an envelope, and a second envelope that's postage paid and addressed to your Board of Elections, so it can, be paid for the mail and actually get where it needs to go. The envelope in which you place the ballot certificate has a certificate attached. Voters must sign the certificate for a ballot to count. But more than 17% of primary ballots were rejected because the voters did not return the certificate. So
yeah,
read the instructions and sign
it's very important. I understand that it can seem like a lot because I know when I open up the ballot for the primary, it's like a ton of papers that come out and I'm like, whoa, what's happening? But take time to read because I know my mom and I were looking at it and we weren't sure about the signing on the outside. if we had to do it, if we dropped our own ballot box off, or if we had to have someone else sign it for us if they drop it off for us. But all the instructions are there. There's like 30 different pieces of paper in there. The only ones you need to send in are the ballot itself, the second envelope that goes inside the main envelope, and then the envelope with the certificate on it. Just take the time, read the instructions, you'll be good to go.
It's not that crazy.
Third reason, which, I mean, come on. Ballots weren't enclosed. More than 10% of rejected mail-in ballots are rejected because voters forgot to include the ballot. I get it.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Look, it happens. Like
I get it happens, but that's a large number of people.
Yeah, I mean that's the same thing I've seen. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like family or people I know like send in, when people used to send in payments to like electric and your TV bills and everything like that, and they used to send it in without putting in a check. Like
just a nice little envelope for you to examine.
Here you go, Verizon.
Here you
Open
go.
it up and look.
Take a look. This is my opinion of you. An empty envelope.
But yeah, it happens. Just make sure here's a good idea. When you're doing this kind of stuff, just with anything, it's like proofreading an essay. Before you finish everything, before you close everything up, make sure you have 3 things you need: those 2 envelopes, and then the ballot itself.
Yeah,
you're good. Reason 4, signatures didn't match. More than 12% of rejected ballots, or about 4,200, were rejected because signatures didn't match the voter books. The report said 19 of 21 counties sent 15,900 cure letters to voters, and about 43% were able to fix their ballots so they could be counted. No information was reported for Cape May County, Middlesex County, the report said. It says for this election, if a voter's signature is in question, county boards of elections will have 24 hours to send the letters, which will tell voters how to reconcile their signatures.
Just put your normal signature on it.
Yeah.
Don't write like cabbage.
Yeah. We have a
or do what I do anytime we have to go to like sign something at a store. I try to write the most profane thing that I can and see if the signature thing accepts
Do
it.
you actually do that?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I would never, because that's a signature and I'm sure that's legally important somewhere. So no, I would never do that.
Yeah.
But had I, it's really fun, especially if I'm angry at like the store or something, or it usually happens at CVS.
Yeah,
CVS can torture a soul.
Yeah, I mean 100%. We have a quote here from Jesse Burns, executive director of the League of Women's Voters in New Jersey. He said, quote, that will happen both before and after election day. So ballots processed on election day and after are still eligible to be cured. Voters have until 48 hours before final certification of election results to secure ballots. So basically, there are systems in place, as you can see, for any issues that, God forbid something goes wrong with your certificate, you don't forget to sign it, you forget something, they still reach out to you. They'll still get out to you. That's the important part about this voting system. Because when you're in person, if there's any problem in person, they can address it from the get-go.
Right.
there.
Just be like looking at the signature, make sure it matches. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
by mail, it takes longer. So make sure you just sign your name like normal.
Yeah.
And then last thing, number 5, the 5th reason why mail-in votes were rejected during the primaries, according to NJ.com, was that the certificates weren't signed. Nearly 6% of rejected mail-in ballots were rejected because the voter forgot to sign the certificate. So just follow the directions.
All of these seem to be just logistical
minutes.
issues. Yeah.
Yeah, take a couple minutes, follow the directions. It's not going to take that long, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
This also go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm glad that we have this out there in terms of kind of reporting on it, because people may not understand some of these issues that come by, and sometimes people may just kind of be confused why this is going on.
Right. And by the way, I've noticed that my cutting people off has gotten so much worse.
Well, here's
since
the thing.
We pivoted to Zoom.
Here's the thing. A, there's a delay. B, we've always just cut each other off in person and in our lives in general because we both have way too much to say and not enough time to say it. Because I don't think if we were given the opportunity to say everything on our mind, I don't think we'd get through the day.
No.
Both of us specifically. So
I agree with that.
You know very well I have no problem with you cutting me off. It's just kind of how our dynamic works.
Yeah. I just wanted to kind of talk about something real quick. And this has kind of been knocking around in my head a little bit.
Knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah, anecdotally, I've heard a lot of people say that this is going to be the first year we don't know on election night.
Yes, which has raised some concerns in terms of the administration trying to push a certain agenda. But
Right, but not just that. I just mean like in general, like this like I don't. We've never had this in our lifetimes. I don't even think our parents have had it in their lifetimes.
yeah, I will say full credit to the people who are going to be working the ballots, working this election, and going to have to be counting it, because I can't imagine they don't realize how the weight of the job they're going to be doing, because just
Yeah,
as it is, that job is pretty heavy to begin with. Even if you're just working the local county election, you're still doing a pretty big job. So now where what the results that you have to tabulate are even more important, in the sense that there's nothing electronic going on in terms of someone going to a machine and doing it. Everything is written.
yeah.
There might be some states that might do online voting. I'm not sure how many states do that or how
I
many
don't
areas do
think
that.
I'm not sure that's a thing. Is it a thing in the United States? I don't think
I
it
will
is.
double check.
But like this is weird because literally like even before I was like old enough to be involved in politics and stuff, because that was always the thing, right? You would vote, and then like by the time you woke up the next day, you would know who the next president is. This is going to be the first year that's not the case
So there is
in a very long time.
from Politico talking about how there are some states. This article is from June 8th. West Virginia is a state that started doing online voting. So did Delaware. And yeah, again, there's obviously a bigger issue with online voting in terms of making sure that the system isn't compromised.
Right.
Um, whether it's by foreign entities or by people just being jerks and trying to mess around with what's going on. However,
Right. It's just wild to me that like this is happening in our lifetimes. I know. I mean,
it's
and I don't know if those states have gotten the green light to do online voting yet. It might still be by mail-in. But in any case, I don't know. I just think like, I'm gonna have to wrap my head around, we do this and we're gonna have to still wait, which is understandable given the circumstances. I'm just still kind of like, in the oh my God, this is happening phase. I mean, I'm still gonna vote, obviously. But like it's just something a little bit weirder to wrap your head around,
yeah, but
Like by the time like the last election happened, I this is gonna sound so stupid, but I woke up and there were already memes. Like it was that quick. And I mean, granted,
Yeah.
it's not official. Like they still have to like tabulate everything, but you still kind of know.
there's
You're not gonna know at all, even if it is like biased one way or the other, which I really hope it's not. But they're still gonna have to. This is gonna take longer before we even know that much. It's crazy.
yeah,
I just
Um,
wanted to
but-
gush about that real quick.
Yeah,
Vent,
please-
rather.
please vote.
Please
exercise
vote,
your right.
please. Like, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, exercise your right as an American citizen. There's a reason why you put up with things like jury duty and having to, do all this other stuff. Like you as much as the electoral college system can be a little skewed, and there's a lot of push to remove it to make it a more direct democracy, your vote in most states can still make a difference, and should still make a
Right.
difference. And you shouldn't think that your voice is not heard. But
Right,
vote.
especially now because there's a wave of people, so I feel like saying that it's not worth it to vote or it's not, one option's
can't-
not inherently better, but like that does like in this case, you doesn't matter. We need to use our voices now more than ever, like period, full stop, to even have a shot at starting to work on some of these
Mhm.
things. So please don't take that for granted, and please don't listen to the crowd of like nihilism
Yeah,
that's like
and I will
developed.
say, the important thing too is don't think that just voting is where you stop in terms of political action.
Oh, of course not. But
Which is a lot of
it's very
a lot
much
of
the conversation.
There is
at
a lot
hand
of the
right
other
now.
side where they think like, oh well, just vote and you're good. It's like, no, voting is probably the most basic way of making your voice heard, and not the most effective in terms of, there are states where you'll vote one way, but the state is predominantly the other political party. You need to be able to make your voice heard, but at the same time, get on the ground. get involved in political action if that's something you're interested in, and sit down.
Or at least get informed at the very least.
Yeah, this is like these are options. If you really are interested, there are options for you to be able to be involved in the political system, to be able to evolve, um, to be able to actually make a push for maybe a. We're in a two-party system right now. If you want to try to make it so that it isn't just two parties we rely on, the change doesn't happen on election night.
Right. And that's the thing I think a lot of people take for granted. Like, when it comes to election season, now everybody wants to talk about write-ins and wants to talk about third parties and this, that, the other thing, but like at this point, that's just throwing away a vote. Like at this point in the stage, you have option A or option B. Like you needed to be worried about this the rest of the term.
Yes.
This is not, and same thing with the Electoral College. Like people are like, oh, I'm not going to vote because the Electoral College is a thing. And like you just realize this now. You need to be talking about that for the years before this.
There have been pushes
before the game
now.
starts. Right now, this is game time.
There's been years now that there's been pushes to move away from the Electoral College system because it is very much a relic of the past of the United States, very much connected to the population of states as well as connected to convincing southern states who had slaves to accept, to compromise because of the population density that was afforded to the South by the people that saved, the 3/5 compromise, for example, is
Right.
something that's big.
But all this to say, like, yeah, there's a time and a place to discuss third parties. There's a time and a place to discuss protesting the Electoral College. Yes, absolutely. It's not right now. Right now is hammer time. Like, that's setting up the circumstances. Right now, we are in the circumstances. Like, it's happening now.
You got to stop the bleeding.
Work with what you got. Yeah.
If,
So I'm adamant about that because some people get real uppity about that and then they throw their votes away and it ends up hurting us all in the long term.
Exercise your right to vote. Express your belief in a candidate, but also make sure you're not just voting for yourself. You're voting for others in this country. But I feel like that's a good way to kind of wrap it up and look at it, and to move on to a story that is nowhere near lighter or in any way, but. This is from CNN. The New York town of Swastika votes to keep its name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly as it says. A small town in upstate New York voted to keep the name Swastika. You can check it on Google Maps. Saying that the town founders named it after the Sanskrit word and not the hate symbol associated with the Nazis.
It's important to note this town was founded in the 1800s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a quote from John Douglas, the supervisor for the town of Blackbrook. And it says, quote, "We regret that individuals for out of the area that lack the knowledge of the history of our community become offended when they see the name. To members of our community that the board represents, it's the name that their ancestors chose," end quote. So we have a similar situation
about this. I want to hear your
talked
opinion
about this.
first.
We talked about this yesterday. And I feel like we're both in agreement. We just came from different sides, but then realized we both had the same opinion. We're starting. It's like I was starting at the East Coast, you were starting at the West Coast, but we had the same destination.
All right, let's
see. Just kind of like some historical connotation. April 2019, a neighborhood in Colorado outside Denver voted to change its name from Swastika Acres to Old Cherry Hills. The area had been home to the Denver Land Swastika Company, a company that chose its name before the Nazis in Germany adopted the swastika symbol. The thing people might not be more familiar with is that the Sanskrit word swastika means good fortune. It is a symbol that first appeared 7,000 years ago and is considered a sacred symbol in Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism and other belief systems. And you can still see it in countries that have those belief systems. You can still see the symbol.
Yeah.
The thing that people forget is that before the Germans came around, before
Nazi Germany specifically.
Nazi Germany, and before the Nazi Party, the swastika existed for thousands of years. So that's one end of the argument in terms of this is a thing that's been here. This is a thing that has been unfortunately twisted by some of the worst belief systems and people that we've seen in the past few centuries. This has been something that has been almost I think fully culturally appropriated by.
Right, and I think that's where my other the other part of my brain is at right now is it's impossible to uncouple it at this point. It's stuck.
Exactly.
You had some of literally, like, without exaggeration, the most evil acts committed by human beings happened under that regime that used that symbol. I don't think there's a way to, like, I understand it predates it, but at this point, I wonder if it's too late to, like, uncouple the two in terms of, like, a town in the United States.
Yeah, and you really feel for these people because, like, if you grew up in that town in New York and you live there and you've known the history, it's just so unfortunate that you have to change your entire way of life because of the decision and the horrible, horrible things that a group of people did that had nothing to do with the actual symbol and what it stood for. The same way that the Nazi Party adopted the Aryan belief system, even though Aryans were an actual group of people that existed and were, like, prehistoric, not prehistoric, but pre advanced times, like, the Celts and the Visigoths and the
Right.
Saxons and all those other people. Like, that was an actual group of people that had an actual history in parts of Asia that then the Nazi Party just kind of looked at it and was like, we're going to take that and we're going to, create
This
our
is
own
mine
twist, and
now.
which is kind of how that whole thing operated in all of World War II and leading up to World War II.
Right.
Like, it's just such a shame, and that's my first thought of that, because of the fact that the article says from CNN, for 7,000 years this symbol existed as a religious symbol, something that is connected to so many people in their religious belief system. And then, one group of horrid human beings in the 1920s up until, I mean, the symbol's still used now by those people with those horrid
Yeah.
beliefs. The fact that they took that and just kind of like, well, we're going to do whatever we want with it because we're just going to ascribe our own belief system to it. It sucks. But your
Right.
point is completely valid. You have to realize the context of the situation and the context of what's going on in terms of, what the West looks at it like and what other people may feel like. And it's a debate and it's a conversation that's going to go on for a very long time. Opponents of this town being named swastika will invoke the fact of the connotation that it has here in the West, while the people in that town will still say the same things, like, we understand and we're not trying to say that, you know we don't think it's okay. We think it's okay that happened, but you're asking us to change something that's been with us for close to 200 years because of something that was unfortunately out of our control. And it's just, it sucks. I don't
I
really
mean,
need.
I think at the end of the day, I would have to stay. Like, at, like, the end of the day, like, whether I should keep it or change it, I would say change it.
I and I kind of lean towards that too, just because of the fact that, unfortunately, that's what it stands for now.
And the
Unfortunately,
horrible, horrible memories and images, and a lesson that not a lesson in the sense of like something learned from it, but a lesson in the fact, like, how horrible human beings can be and how horrible absolute power can be if it goes unchecked. What can happen?
hmm
Like, it just the most evil. Like, that's the only way I could describe it, is evil. Like, things, and, like, you can't uncouple that from the meaning of this symbol.
and
But in America, you can't do that.
it goes with anything that's connected to any sort of group that has committed atrocities. Whenever people think about, for example, the political system of communism and the economic system of communism, the first thought always goes to the Soviet Union and to Stalin and to Lenin and the kinds of things that they did to people. People forget that Stalin was just as an atrocious of a human being. Um, and that's people's first instinct when someone mentions communism in any way. It's like, oh, like Soviet Russia. It's like, no, no, that was a whole other mess that needs to be examined with nuance and critique. you know and it just comes down to conversations that just the word or the idea has a predominant connection in your mind that you just can't shake. and it's so hard to do it. And as much as you understand in this case why this community wants to keep it, you can't shake that connection, and you can't shake that history and what that means and sounds to so many people that have either been affected directly, because there are still people alive today that have been affected directly by
Oh yeah.
the Nazi Party, as well
And
as those that have been indirectly, like my mom's boss. Most of his family died in a concentration camp.
yeah, man. It's not ancient history, you know. There's people alive that have been through that today. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. But so I would say change it, but it does suck, you know. It's not fair to this, you know, cultures that use this symbol just to literally mean
I
good
don't
fortune as a positive thing, and now it's been warped and taken out of their hands. It sucks. It's not fair.
I don't envy being the one to have to make that decision, and I don't envy having to be the one that um, has a connection to the history of that, because I understand my own connection to my Portuguese heritage and the fact that Portuguese people were very much complicit in colonialism and imperialism and, you know, racism and slavery. Like, I'm fully aware of that. And, you know, I need to understand that while it, like, no one is saying it's wrong for me to be proud to be Portuguese, I also need to make sure that I don't paint Portugal as some sort of utopia and civilization and people that did nothing wrong. You know,
Right.
it.
The other thing before we get out of this story that kind of the other thing while we're having this discussion that I think is interesting is a lot of the stuff that we consider like ancient history or you know, history book history is not as old as people think. Like there are
Mm-mm.
people alive today that have experienced this. There are people alive today that have experienced the civil rights movement in the United States.
Mhm.
There are people, you know, that were alive before blue was the color assigned to masculinity. That's not set in stone. That
Mhm.
came around the same time, you know? Like it's a lot of the stuff they think people take for granted that, you know, oh, it was always this way. Not really. Not really. Like are these kind of, I guess demons would be the best way to describe it, are not as far removed and like in the past as people think they are, and people got to be aware of that.
But those end
Don't
up
learn
being,
from your history, you're doomed to repeat it.
yeah, and that comes down to narratives about those who would not like to change, would just kind of like to paint it as like, well, it's always been like that, you know, to kind of claim that it is something that's not changeable, you know, that can't be
Right.
done, even though we've seen change throughout the years. However, um, I will say that this has been look, we talked about yesterday having this conversation. We talked about yesterday covering this article, and I'm gonna say I I'm glad we were able to talk about it and handle it the way we did, because like, that's to toot my own horn, but like, this could have easily gone way sideways and way downhill with a conversation. It just turned into just a lot of nonsense, and I
You
feel
want to go sideways with a different story?
I will 100% go sideways with the story from the
All right, let's
BBC.
do it. You ready? This is from BBC. If you steal music, you aren't a real music fan, says the
So
music industry.
this
Who
story
makes billions of dollars every year.
this story covers a couple different anecdotes in terms of music piracy. One is about a man named Wayne Evans, who is an amateur DJ from Liverpool. He designed and sold DJ software, and he ended up uploading what turned into 22.5 million pounds of illegally downloaded music, according to the Performing Rights Society. There's stuff about his mental health and victim of violent crimes. I don't understand why that needs to be brought up, but
Yeah, I don't understand why the author felt the need to air this guy's personal life out there
yeah,
like that, but whatever.
he's big in the underground house scene over in England and in Liverpool, and he has a big collection of music that he's had in his personal collection. He started uploading to a website. Around 700,000 tracks were illegally downloaded. He ended up being arrested in 2016. He was convicted of copyright infringement and a count of fraud and went to jail for 12 months. But he said, his opinion, he said the sentence was, quote, a bit steep, but he said what happened to him is justified, and he has a quote. It says, quote, I have thought about it a lot. So much work goes into making music. I was taking away from them people, not just the artist, but the guy that sits at the mixing desk, a lot of people, end quote, says Wayne. Piracy costs the UK economy about $9 billion a year, according to the 2019 report by the government's Intellectual Property Office. There's another story about they're talking about Pirate Bay and YouTube and the different websites where you can rip music and streaming services. There is a quote from a band called the Hush Tones, Martha Goddard, the lead singer, and she says, quote, "If you steal music, you obviously aren't a real fan." And it talks about how the man makes only £40 a month from their Spotify royalties, and that
Who
once
is
they got
this?
to
What
that
band
point,
is this that's saying this?
the Hush Tones.
Hi, the Hush Tones. We're the Morning Buzz. And might I suggest not being mad at us? Might I suggest actually being mad at the industry
So
and
yes.
the systems in place that don't pay you, even though Spotify rakes in an ungodly amount of money every year?
So
Maybe don't be mad at us, who are working like paycheck to paycheck like the rest of the human race and are not, don't have it to go out and purchase every single one of your albums at market. Maybe stop blaming us for what's wrong with the industry, because it's easier to point the finger at people than it is to point the finger at the entire business. But you should be doing that. Don't come for the people that are like, I guarantee you that some of the people that pirate your music are the people paying at your shows. I would put money on that.
and
Okay, so don't like that. That ticks me off. It's this thing where people start pointing the finger at,
but that's what they want.
remember, like with Metallica, like you wouldn't download a TV, bleh, like.
But that's what they want.
Stupid,
That's
like,
the thing. If the people at the bottom, towards the bottom of the totem pole, keep pointing fingers at each other, and companies like Warner Brothers, and we're talking about big name record labels. We're not talking about your ma and pa record labels. We're not talking about smaller record labels that have historically, for the most part, done a pretty good job at helping the people on their label. Like we piracy is something that people have done for a long time, and we're not talking about being on the salty seas with your
although
pirate
I wish
mates.
we were. I wish we were.
But
I wish we got a story that required us to talk about that. Can someone do something pirate related in the next week so we can talk about it?
the thing that gets me is,
I mean, don't.
the
but
pirate the intellectual property office in the UK says that piracy costs the UK economy £9 billion a year. There is an assumption there that is made that is an assumption all in all.
So let's talk about it.
If you sit down and you say that, yes, the factor of money from all the songs that are downloaded ends up being £9 billion. If piracy didn't exist, for example, like let's say we live in some fantasy world where it's impossible to pirate music, you're assuming that those same people that pirated the music are people that are going to buy the music. When a lot of times the reason why people pirate it is because they straight up won't pay for it. Correct?
Or because they can't.
Dude,
Dude, everything is locked behind a monthly paywall now. We can't afford to have every single one of these streaming services. And if your stuff is exclusive over here and I go to the different streaming service, now what? I'm going to pay 2 monthly things? I can't do that.
Like
I can't.
The thing that people don't
Even if I wanted to.
And the video game industry has the same problem. You assume that this lost revenue is lost revenue that would be guaranteed to you, when a lot of times what actually ends up happening is the people, like we said, aren't buying it because they don't want to and they don't think they should be paying, however much, if you're charging $20 for an album when a lot of albums are 10 to 15, or it's people that genuinely cannot afford money, you cannot afford to buy them. Like,
right.
You're assuming that
and
this is money that is guaranteed.
And that's one of the reasons that it ticks me off that, like, when these bands like the Hush Puppies or whatever, what's her name?
Hush Tones.
Whatever. The Hush Tones, like, that ticks me off. Like, that kind of, like, finger pointiness ticks me off, because it's not, like, the listener's fault that you get paid less than $1 per Spotify stream. It's not our fault, okay?
Speaking of Spotify, this is an article from the beginning of this month where the article says, Spotify CEO to artists, you can't record music once every 3 to 4 years and think that's going to be enough. Daniel X suggests the secret to success is not higher Spotify payout rates, but more output from the musicians. So, look, I'm sorry. I was gonna go on a big point, but there's a line in this article. Many major acts have slammed the Swedish company for failing to properly support musicians, including Radiohead frontman Thom Yorke, who once likened Spotify to the last desperate flatulence of a dying corpse.
Ever eloquent.
But look,
This is like the type of thing we're talking about, right? Like, don't get mad at the fans. Don't get mad at people who, might end up ripping your music. Like, get mad at the system that's keeping you down and keeping you from thriving. Don't blame us.
yes.
Like, I pay for Spotify, but like
There,
it is what it is. I would never point the finger at somebody who is pirating music, because a lot of times those people wouldn't have listened to it to begin with. I think you hit the nail right on the head, right? Like you're assuming that if these people didn't pirate it, they would have bought it. And sometimes they can't. And sometimes they're not in a position right now. And this is because, if you want to go way back, I mean, we could talk about how the music industry got caught with its pants down when the internet came around and now doesn't know what to do with itself, and has been that way since then, in a state of oh my god.
It's also important. There's a couple points I want to bring up before we continue. Annabella, our wonderful GM, boss of all things, texted us saying, YouTube pays a fraction of cents in royalties. Sirius pays something like $2.50 per play. And there should be a standardization of payment across the board, because if you have a group like SiriusXM, which is a pretty big person in a pretty big organization in the music industry and the radio industry, they're paying that much, but you have YouTube and Spotify and Apple Music flexing their muscles and just kind of paying you a fraction of money. You interviewed David McWayne from Big D and the Kids Table, and he told you some of the ridiculous amount of money that he just doesn't get from streaming. Like, there's a reason why I've made an effort to buy Big D and the Kids Table albums. And then Amanda, she dropped in chat talking about how the industry is suffering. A lot of the money that the music industry makes outside, like especially smaller artists, is touring and selling merch,
selling T-shirts on the road.
You really can't do that,
which is a lot. But it's also worth out to point out right now that the average Spotify executive is paid $210,534 a year. Median estimated compensation for executives, not ground level workers, at Spotify, including base salary and bonuses, is $210,639 or $101 per hour. At Spotify, the most compensated executive makes $430,000 annually, and the lowest makes $57,000.
And
okay, so Miss Hush Tones, Hush for Brains, whatever.
Look, I
go talk to them about where your streaming money goes. Don't talk to your fans about it. Talk to them about it.
Like, look, we're not saying here that these people don't have a reason to be mad. No, the people in the music industry, the artists, the bands, they have every right to be upset that they're not being fairly compensated. 100%. Like, you cannot have this conversation without recognizing that. However, this goes to the top. This goes to the industry. This goes to the people that aren't paying you. So
don't point the finger at your fans. Don't point the finger at people who are trying to do their best to get from day to day and are getting music wherever they can because it's the only way they can. Don't point the finger at them. Point the finger at these people that are making stupid money while you get paid less than $1, less than half a dollar per stream. Get mad at them. Don't get mad at us.
So this is a pretty crazy story in terms of just some of the finger pointings. But I think we can before we end the show, because we're getting close to the end, we can move on to this one story that maybe is a little bit more bananas.
It's the air horn when you need it. Hang on, I'll do it.
We actually covered this. I forget when. It was a while back.
Oh, this is not this banana's first time on the Morning Buzz.
It is not. This is not this banana's first time on the produce stand that is the Morning Buzz. This is like an article from The Insider saying, at $150,000, art installation featuring a banana taped to a wall was donated to a New York museum without the banana. For those kitties that I think, Tara, can you pull up the article just to share the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. I could show you the banana in question.
So as you understand, it is just a banana. It's just a banana taped to a wall.
Yeah. There she
So the
is.
Guggenheim had originally released the work of art, which it sold for more than 100,000 at Art Basel Miami in 2019 from anonymous donation, according to the New York Times. The Italian artist, piece comedian, better known as the Banana Taped to a Wall, is now in the hands of the Solomon R. Guggenheim Museum in Manhattan. The thing about the artist is the banana isn't the thing that matters, for example. There was a performance artist, David Datuna, who grabbed the banana and ate it, and he called the piece performance art called A Hungry Artist. The Art
Which is
Basel Miami
brilliant, by the way.
literally just replaced the banana. So insiders Alan Woodward wrote in December 2019 article, according to the Art Basel Miami, Datuna's performance didn't ruin or even devalue the artwork, since buyers of the comedian don't actually receive the bananas on display. Instead, they get the piece's certificate of authenticity, along with a 14-page list of instructions detailing how to correctly display the banana.
But not the banana.
So
It's a different banana.
So one of the people who bought it for the Guggenheim, Sarah Andelman, she actually has a quote here. She said, "quote It appealed to
I
me
was
for its
hungry,
absurdity."
unquote.
No, she bought it for the museum.
I was hungry, end quote.
Quote, "It appealed to me for its absurdity and the effect on the public. I observed all the Basel visitors taking their selfie and thought it was such a reflection of our time." End quote.
On one level, I get it. Like, I get what you're doing. You're spoofing, like, the commodification of art by saying, hey, I wonder if I could get the rights to a banana taped to a wall and sell it. It's kind of a satire in and of itself. And in that way, it's kind of brilliant because it's literally doing its intended purpose of spoofing how commodified art has become and making a laughingstock out of it for the entire world.
The
It's
unfortunate
doing
thing
its
is,
job, but it's also really dumb.
Yeah, it's the idea of like when people see the art and they're like, "Oh, I could have done that." It's like,
yeah, but you didn't.
But you didn't.
You didn't. But anyway, like it's also really at this point it's really really stupid that this is even like
we saw the story of like, we talked about the poor janitor that saw what looked like a pile of trash that wasn't really denoted as an exhibit, and he threw that out and then ended up getting in a lot of trouble for it. Some people, there was a whole mess with that. There was at the MoMA at one point, someone had just left something in the corner to see how people would react, and people started crowding around it like it was an actual art exhibit. Like, look,
which is, again, it's kind of brilliant, like
art
in its own way.
Like, art isn't. There's no definition of what art is outside of something that elicits something from you, right? Something that means something. Like, you see the art piece that says "Ce n'est pas une pipe," and it's just a pipe, like a smoking pipe.
Right.
That literally translates to "this isn't a pipe," to kind of show the absurdity of art.
Right. Or like some of like, we talked about the John Cage thing a couple weeks ago where it's the organ that's going to be playing the same, this one song stretched out over like 630 some odd years.
Or John Cage's other song. What was the
Waterwalk? One of the ones where it's literally the song is just him doing household chores in like in a line. Like people, I actually like, it's dumb that it's gone on this long, I think is what I'm trying to articulate. It's dumb that it's gone on this long, but it is cool that people can like spoof the industry and stretch what it means to be art and to be music as far as they can and get a good reaction out of people. I actually enjoy that a lot.
It is just sometimes frustrating to me because what ends up being a critique of the industry, eventually the industry just kind of absorbs into itself, which sucks. Because it's just kind of like, when you have music, for example, and a lot of people want to go against the grain, but then either the industry ends up kind of absorbing them or fans kind of turn on them for playing the role in the industry and having to make a living, looking at, how Green Day and The Offspring have been treated before.
Right. The whole sellout culture thing.
Yeah.
But I think
would the banana then be a sellout?
The banana's sold out to the man, dude.
The banana's sold out.
The banana's on a major label, dude. The banana can't be trusted.
The banana's signed with Chiquita Banana.
Yeah, the banana's signed with Goya. We can't. It's
not. God, no, not Goya. Not Goya right now.
But like there was one, like just like on the whole modern art thing, right? Like I know it gets a lot of grief, and sometimes it deserves it. But there was one, like, for of all people, of Yoko Ono, right, that I saw. I was watching her do a thing. She was doing her singing thing or whatever. But then she also had a piece because it was an art museum and they had like a small group of people for the little like christening ceremony.
Yes.
And she had two green vases about half her height, like some big vases. You know what I mean?
A vase.
And she took a hammer and broke one. And then she's like, on your way out, take a piece. And in 10 years, we're going to meet back up here. We're going to put it back together.
What year was this?
Like last year or something. Like very
Oh.
recently.
Okay, so we won't.
Like, and like, I know that's like not weird and it's not traditional and it's like very modern art and artsy, but my God, if I wouldn't think about that vase every single day until then.
Look,
Like having that piece with me or somewhere like on a shelf somewhere.
what we have to do now, since we
Like
covered
that's
it
in
here
your
on the-
head. It's
Since
awesome.
we cover this on the Buzz, whenever the reconvention comes, we need to cover it wherever we are in our careers. We need to cover that Yoko Ono story. To
Yeah,
kinda
and like
be-
I know
the
she's
meta.
like, yeah. I know people got opinions about her. I got opinions about her,
Well,
but
I got-
like
Before we wrap up, I got opinions about ravioli.
what are your opinions?
First of all, those commercials of Chef Boyardee chasing after people are terrifying to me.
My boyfriend eats Chef Boyardee. I've yet to wrap my head around the concept.
It
of
tastes
that.
fine, but this article from the North Central PA,
My Italian side, which is all of my sides, is
Uh,
not ready to accept that.
loud bangs in trailer park turn out to be ravioli cans.
Okay, when you first said this, I thought ravioli cans were exploding.
No, they were just hitting things. So this is a report from the Pennsylvania State Police. Loud bangs heard in a trailer park in White Deer Township, Union County, turned out not to be gunfire fireworks, but Chef Boyardee ravioli cans. Pennsylvania State Police at Milton were dispatched to a residence at White Deer Trailer Park on Interstate Avenue shortly before 3 a.m. September 21st for a report of 3 loud bangs. Troopers investigating found that an unknown suspect or suspects had thrown 3 Chef Boyardee ravioli cans at a residence and damaged a rear window. Cans had struck a metal trailer located behind the residence, which caused the loud noises. Trooper Dustin Spangler is investigating the criminal mischief incident. First of all,
I'm investigating your name. I apologize.
Spangler, I'm sorry. But look, all I can think of is that Chef Boyardee commercial. What if no one actually threw those cans? What if it was the cans trying to get into the house themselves?
What? Or I thought you were going to go in a complete other direction, which is gang warfare on the part of Chef Boyardee. Like Chef Boyardee saw you weren't buying his stuff, and he came correct. He came up to
Chef
hit you
Boyardee
where
saw
you live.
you were buying Campbell's.
He saw you buying from somebody else, and you've been a regular of his for a while, so he wanted to come and make sure you remembered who was the most important ravioli maker in your life.
You want the bust kneecaps.
He wanted, yeah,
With
he,
ravioli.
if you didn't get the message from the cans, he had other ways of hurting you, and it's horrifying.
AKA give you awful indigestion.
Oh, raviolis would kill me, but I've discovered.
Well, they're all
gnocchi, which
meat
is-
raviolis. That's the thing. A lot of the Chef
Oh.
Boyardee mayo is just straight up meat. There's not
Oh,
much
yeah,
cheese in it
no.
or any at all.
I can't
um,
endorse any of that.
I think I've had it once just to kind of like as a kid to try it, and it was just kind of like meh. It was the same thing with SpaghettiOs.
Well,
Everyone
we're
ate
European,
SpaghettiOs.
We can't like.
We
we're
have
not meant
taste.
for this.
We have taste.
No offense, everybody.
No,
But
it's like
we're not meant for we're not meant to consume canned pasta. It's
like-
not.
it's like when I eat canned chicken noodle soup. It's not the same as homemade, and I feel like that's just across the board. Most people don't like canned chicken noodle soup as much as they like homemade chicken noodle soup.
You know what I will
At
do
home,
though, if the situation requires it, I'll take the pouch with like the pre-made one, and then mix that with regular pasta that I boiled.
See, that's fair though, because you're it's an addition. You're spicing it up. It's a sentence enhancer, as some would say. But
Chef
yeah.
Boyardee was your childhood, Caitlin. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's like me with Lunchables.
I had a rough childhood too. It was for different reasons.
Mine was because I ate a lot of Lunchables.
Yeah.
But
Oh, Lunchables. I was always like, as a kid, people always had Lunchables. I was always like jealous because I thought it was like the coolest thing.
they're not that great. Let's be honest.
They're
You
really
didn't
not
miss
like,
out on
oh, dude, you have
The-
all
the
these
ham and cheese-
symmetrical circles of food in a
the ham and
plastic
cheese
box.
ones were
It's awesome.
disgusting. There was the only ones I liked were the ones where you can make your own pizza. But even then, the sauce is subpar at best. It's like bad marinara sauce.
Oh man, which is surprisingly common.
Yeah.
Hashtag stop bad marinara sauce.
Hashtag season it, please.
God.
Even if you buy it from the store, add a little bit, of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, some pepper, a little bit of pepper flakes. Just throw something in there, please.
Also, don't do that
Please.
thing where like people add spice to everything now to make up for the fact that they don't know how to cook it. And I'm not talking about dishes that were spicy before. I'm talking about like a plain dish of pasta. Now, like people put like red pepper flakes in it. I'm like, why?
That's not you're supposed to put that in like a sauce or something else that's contributing to it.
And,
That's not how you cook. But
And like you don't just light it on fire because you got the taste wrong.
yeah, just torch it. But
Yeah.
here at 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, where we're at the top of the hour, we beg you and we plead you to season your food and to actually make an effort in cooking, because
Also
But-
vote. Also stay safe.
yes, more importantly, vote and stay safe. Wear your masks. If you need to wear gloves like I am here in studio, do that. But
Let me sing you a song I saw on TikTok of all places. The pandemic isn't over just because you're over it.
I thought you were gonna sing "The Stars at Night" or "Doling."
The stars at night are dull and dim whenever they have to sign over dumb old stupid Texas.
Yeah, that's the thing. Dallas lost the Stanley Cup last night to Tampa, so I felt that song was appropriate to bring up. Sorry, Dallas.
You know what? You're right, but you are listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair.
I have been Philippe. This has been Tara, and our wonderful newscaster Caitlin has been with us as well. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. I want to remind everyone we have an episode tomorrow, the Wednesday Buzz with the Wednesday Cast. But of course, we also have College Radio Day on Friday and the Super Buzz on Friday. We will be from 12 a.m. Friday to 12 a.m. Saturday doing
Going
broadcasts.
off, dude. It's gonna be awesome.
So tune in if you can. If you have
There's a
the chance,
pre-show too with me,
with Miss Thing over here. But
Miss Thang.
we appreciate everyone tuning in and listening. We hope everyone has a wonderful day and a safe week. Goodbye.
Bye.